Welcome to another episode of Raising the Bar, TKJE podcast. Today we hear from Anthony Scott. Anthony is the CEO of a social enterprise benefit corporation named Choice and Chances Trucking Academy and Employment Agency. He also owns a nonprofit called Heaven of Peace Enterprise, or HOPE, that does the footwork for all potential students that attend the academy. Both organizations are located in Edgewood, New Mexico, and they serve Bernalillo County, Torrance County, and Santa Fe County. Both organizations serve the unhoused, veterans, recovering addicts, ex-offenders, at-risk youth, and refugees. The mission is to help this specific demographic for getting their commercial driver's license, or CDL, employment, and to reduce recidivism. Both organizations serve the struggling community with a focus on the BIPOC community. Plan your steps and take flight. TKJE, Raising the Bar. Welcome back to another episode of Raising the Bar, TKJE podcast. Today we get to hear from Mr. Anthony Scott, the CEO of Social Enterprise Benefit Corporation. The name of that corporation is Choice and Chances Trucking Academy and Employment Agency. I'm excited to hear what he has to say and hear his story. Mr. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Yourself?
Hey, fantastic. I always like to tell people every day is a good day on my planet. So, I always like to keep it pushing forward. Well, let's just jump right into this. I want to hear your story and I want to get it out to people because it is very inspiring. So when it comes to that inspiration, everybody has a reason why they start their business, why they even thought about it. So when it comes to your business, your company, what inspired you to start your business?
To be honest, man, it all starts back in high school. I just think back and I remember being young and collecting Forbes magazines and always trying to figure out, like, what are all these people doing out here to attain this generational wealth and this financial freedom? Like, what are they doing? Because I've watched decades and generations of people just come and go, dying, living paycheck to paycheck. So my goal has always been to try and figure out, how can I do that for myself? How can I attain that generational wealth? How this came about was, I know the trucking industry is an $800 billion industry. So my thought was, how can I get into an industry like this that carries so much wealth, but at the same time do what I enjoy doing, where my heart is at, which is serving and helping people. So it all boils down to, one particular night, I was out driving towards Central, and there's an overpass across the Fortuna Street. My wife and I were driving, and she said there's somebody standing on top of an overpass about to jump into oncoming traffic to commit suicide. I told her to pull over. I run across the street. I run up the stairs, and I'm inside this overpass, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're standing up here, but I do know that what you're about to do is not the way to solve your problems. I said, why don't you just come down? Maybe we could just figure out a solution to whatever you're going through, because your life is important. You're important. You matter. He walks across the top of the overpass. He jumps down to the top of the stairs. And when he stands up and we make eye contact, I realized that I recognize this guy. And he was one of my guys when I worked at the jail. So my background is corrections. I worked at the Metropolitan Detention Center for 6 years. This particular fellow was one of my guys when I was at MDC. Back then, sometimes during the day, I would train some of the guys that I was in care of, or I was, in charge of for that particular day. When he and I were talking, he was like, Scott, help me get my mind right. Train me again, because he was one of the guys I used to train at the jail. He's like, fentanyl's got a tight grip on my life. What you told me at the jail, you were right. I don't have the drugs. I don't have the money anymore. Nobody's in my corner. Everybody's turning their back on me. Help me, Scott. Just help me. So I gave him the money that I had in my wallet. I told him to, find himself a place to stay for that night. And if he could, get some transportation through his programs that he had been missing. And that particular night is when it hit me. Like, I could get into the trucking industry by helping these people, veterans, recovering addicts, ex-offenders, and homeless. Those are the that's the demographic that I serve specifically. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of those people, it's difficult for them to attain a job or to get a job. Because, like I know, you go to these places, you can have all the hunger and all the work ethic you want. But it's like, if they tell you got to have 2 years experience, you got to have this certificate, you got to have this. Somebody who's just coming out of prison or somebody who's trying to get back on their feet, and they keep hearing, you're not qualified, you're not qualified, you're not qualified, they're going to start to believe that. And because I've chosen the trucking industry as a way out for these individuals, it makes perfect sense because you just have to get your CDL. There are certain crimes that you can't commit before getting that CDL, but however, it's a lot easier to get your CDL and driving a truck than, getting this certification and having 2 years here and 2 years there to, have employment. So that's where it came from. Meeting that particular inmate, that particular person that night, having that conversation with him, and that's how I was able to come up with meshing the trucking and the people I serve.
As far as the inspiration and you going through that, there are other people that may want to get into business, or they may have this passion or drive that they feel they can turn into a business. So what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to turn their passion into a profitable business like you've been able to?
The inspiration that I would give, or the words of encouragement I would say I would give, is to understand that just because you set a target mark and you've kind of planned your route on how to get there, it's not always going to happen that way. And majority of the time, it's not going to happen like that at all. Key is being able to handle that. It's important to be okay with it not happening the way you planned it in your head. Because I know that's something I struggle with personally, So as I'm telling you this, it's also me and myself, because it's not always the easiest thing for me myself. I'm still learning. I'm a lot further than what I used to be, but that's been one of the hardest things for me because I'm a dreamer and I plan big and I have big faith and I have high expectations for myself. And it's because of the responsibility I have in helping these people. So just because it doesn't happen how you plan it, it doesn't mean that it's not the right path for you. Sometimes you just got to go through the back door if the front door is locked.
Along your journey, along everyone's journey, in my opinion, we're going to meet new people, and we have to meet new people, which creates that networking effect and meeting new people and talking about your business. So as far as networking, what role does networking and building a meaningful relationship or relationships, what role do they play as you were going on your business journey?
Networking is very pivotal, very pivotal. I mean, it's in the beginning when you're not used to it and you realize that's something that has to be done a lot, it can be annoying. Having to get to know all these different people, hearing their story, hearing their backgrounds, and then having to be genuinely interested in their story and what they have to say to connect and to build that rapport. And it can be draining. But what's important is everybody has a story, and it's important to hear people's story to better understand who you're dealing with and who you're talking to. Because if you understand that person, then it only transfers over to the business that you'll potentially be doing with that particular person. It's not what you know, but who you know. And I've heard that a lot in life, but I've really experienced it in this journey that I've chosen, because I wouldn't be where I am right now had it not been for key people leading me to certain people. This whole time, not this whole time, but in the beginning, I'm just looking at like all these breadcrumbs. I keep having to pick up all these breadcrumbs. Where's the loaf at? Being where I am now has really made me appreciate the journey of all those breadcrumbs, because now I realize those breadcrumbs are actually dots. And as time went forward, those dots were starting to be connected. So it's very beneficial networking.
Okay, now those breadcrumbs, they lead you different places. And as you said before, the journey's part of it. And as you move along, you may have to change direction. Can you highlight a time when you had to maybe pivot your business model and how you executed that process through the transition so you actually made it a successful transition moving forward?
It's crazy that you say the word pivot. That word has been my arch nemesis for a while. I was saying earlier, I painted this grandiose picture of what I envision this organization to be. Being a complete startup with the mindset of I'm going to be able to get a couple $1 million and start this project. It's not going to work like that. It hasn't worked like that. So like I said, I see it like, imagine standing in front of a movie screen, like 2 inches away. That's your vision. It looks huge and it's right there in front of your face. It also kind of blinds you from a clearer picture, because you're too close. So when you have to take a step back, when you pivot, you're able to see things a lot clearer. And then you can also just realize like, hey, this is a beautiful picture I'm painting, but it's way too big for where I am right now. And then something else that came to me in my time of thinking is, think about all the sports that we've watched throughout our life. How many athletes have to pivot in their sport before they do something spectacular? or they land that right hook, or so they have to make that pivot to hit that game-winning jumper. Thinking about it in a sports perspective, really helped me appreciate pivoting.
Now, I know that you are really deep into the communities and giving back, and you do have your target markets. How do you give back to the community or support, social responsibilities through your business as you move forward, develop, and grow?
The way I give back is providing hope. We talked about Choice and Chances Trucking Academy, but my nonprofit is Haven of Peace Enterprise. The acronym is HOPE, because that's what I'm going to be providing. And that's what's important to me. Not only just giving back hope to these individuals, but a feeling of self-respect, self-worth, self-confidence. Because like I said, these people here that they're not qualified for so long, you start to hear. And when you think about all the kids that have grown up hearing from their parents, you just like your daddy, or you ain't going to be shit. You're not going to amount to nothing. You're going to be just like your friends on the corner. Like, you hear that enough, that's programming. So it's my job to help these people look in the mirror and see something different than what they've been seeing all of their life. That's why I'm here on earth. That's my purpose. Not only will myself and then, my community partners provide this hope and this uplifting to the community, but afterwards helping these people get employed. And that's important for an adult to work and to be able to put their hands towards something, to be reimbursed for it. And then what they're reimbursed with, being able to take care of their family, set an example for their kids or their homies or whoever's looking at them as an example. That's what's important, and it's a ripple effect.
You provide education, you can help with funding, you can help people develop, you can lift people up, and you give them hope. Man, that is fantastic. How can our listeners, as far as getting advice from you, so can you just give our listeners one piece of advice that has stuck with you on your journey so far and will help as you move forward?
I would say just appreciate the life that you have. That sounds probably so cliche, but it's important, man. It's important to appreciate this one life we have. It's not like the games we grew up playing. There's no do-overs. For instance, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today, and I was just explaining how every day people look at the mountains of New Mexico. People drive on the highway every day and have completely forgotten how beautiful the mountains are, because it's something that they see every day. So if they're doing that with Earth and the mountain, imagine what they're doing with the people around them. They're so used to just passing by these people. There's no concern. There's no real care. Everybody's just desensitized because of life and reality and trauma and turmoil. And it's a real skill. It's a real skill to not get trapped into the day-to-day rat race and being able to still have the capability of taking a step back, pivoting, and seeing things for what it is and appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I was able to appreciate a lot more after leaving the jail, because you work in a place like that for so many hours, so many years, you get desensitized from what you see and the demographic that you see coming in and day out, day in and day out. It'll cause you to be blinded of the true beauty that really exists out here in the world, because of what you're seeing on a daily basis. So I would just say, cherish the life that you have. Try to live every day like it's your last. That sounds so corny. I appreciate that a lot more.
With what you're doing, how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your company, they want to learn more about your HOPE program? How can they get a hold of you?
The best way is just to go to my webpage. It's choiceandchancesTruckingAcademy.com. My contact information is on there. There's a informational video that's attached to that. Watch that if you do go to the webpage. The email's on there, contact information, cell phone. If you're interested, let me know. And I'm looking forward to hearing from whoever is interested to take this conversation any further or get the help that's offered as well. Choice and Chances Trucking Academy.
Choice and Chances Trucking Academy.com.
Yes, sir.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. Thank you so much. Much success and blessings to you in your future. Man, if we come across anyone that can utilize your services or needs that help, we will definitely send them your way.
Thank you. I'd be looking forward to it, and I appreciate it also. I take all referrals.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Scott. You have a wonderful and blessed day.
Thank you. You too.
DKJE